You won't believe what Elvis's best friend kept secret for decades. What would you do if your closest friend became the most famous person in the world, and then started to unravel right in front of your eyes? Red West didn't set out to be a bodyguard or a whistleblower. He was just a tough Memphis kid who had Elvis Presley's back long before the world even knew his name. But sometimes the people closest to the fire see the flames first. And sometimes telling the truth doesn't make you the villain. It makes you the only one brave enough to try and stop the burn. Red's story isn't a tabloid exposé. It's a raw, deeply personal account of what it's like to watch someone you love disappear behind the curtain of fame. And when he finally spoke up, the world wasn't ready to hear it. Let's go back, way back, before the screaming fans, rhinestone jumpsuits, and Vegas stages. Red met Elvis in the early 1950s at Humes High School. They couldn't have been more different. Red was big, athletic, quick with his fists. Elvis was quiet, different, always dressed in flashy clothes and carrying that guitar like it was glued to him. Most kids teased him. But not Red. He saw something in Elvis that others didn't. Confidence. Heart. Purpose. One day when some students tried to push Elvis around, Red stepped in. No questions, no hesitation. That moment sparked a friendship that would stretch over 2 decades. Through fame, madness, and everything in between. After high school, they went their separate ways. Red joined the Marines, Elvis chased his music dreams. And in 1956, when Heartbreak Hotel rocketed Elvis to superstardom, guess who he called? Red. Because no matter how big he got, Elvis wanted people around him who knew where he came from. So Red joined the inner circle, not just as a bodyguard but as a trusted friend. And life in Elvis's world? It wasn't normal. Not even close. There were no clocks. No calendars. There was only Elvis time. If Elvis wanted to play racquetball at 3 a.m., the court got unlocked. If he felt like flying to Denver in the middle of the night for a peanut butter and banana sandwich, the plane was ready. There were motorcycle rides through the desert, impromptu gospel sing-alongs, movie marathons that lasted till dawn. Red didn't complain. He adapted. Because being close to Elvis wasn't just a job, it was a lifestyle. One filled with energy, laughter, and incredible generosity. Elvis would hear someone mention their car was acting up, and by morning they'd find a brand new one in the driveway. He gave from the heart. But Red said he was also giving pieces of himself he couldn't get back. That's where the story starts to shift. Elvis wasn't just a star, he was a phenomenon. And that level of fame? It's like gravity, it pulls hard. And it pulls people apart. Red watched the changes happen slowly, then all at once. Elvis became more isolated. His moods more unpredictable. One moment he'd be laughing and joking like a kid. The next he'd stare off into space, lost in thoughts no one else could touch. Red stayed close, even in silence. Because sometimes just being there is the only thing a friend can do. But there were things no one could ignore forever. The pills. The exhaustion. The paranoia. It started innocently. Elvis had trouble sleeping. He suffered from headaches. And when the spotlight never dims, the anxiety never stops. So doctors, eager to please the king, gave him whatever he asked for. Sleeping pills, uppers, painkillers. It was all legal. That made it worse. Red said Elvis didn't think he had a problem, because a doctor signed the prescription. But Red saw it. The slurred speech. The nodding off mid-conversation. The outbursts followed by deep regret. He tried to talk to him. Gently at first. Then more urgently. But inside the bubble of Graceland, the truth wasn't always welcome. See, Elvis didn't surround himself with yes men on purpose. He surrounded himself with people he trusted. The problem was, after a while, trust started to look like silence. And silence started to feel like loyalty. But Red couldn't stay silent. He loved Elvis too much to pretend everything was okay. And that's why, in 1976, after nearly 20 years of loyalty, Red was fired. Not face to face. Not even with a phone call. Just cut off. No explanation. Just out. It crushed him. He had built his life around Elvis, delayed his own dreams, carried his secrets, and now he was discarded like a stranger. What? Because he told the truth. Because he cared too much. Red wasn't the only one. His cousin Sonny and fellow bodyguard David Hebler were also let go. Officially, it was about budgets. But behind closed doors, everyone knew the real reason. They were pushing too hard, asking too many questions, refusing to play along. So Red made a choice. He decided to speak up, publicly. He co-wrote a book, Elvis, What Happened? It was the first of its kind. Raw, painful, and brutally honest. It detailed the addiction, the isolation, the emotional collapse behind the icon. And the world hated it. Fans called it betrayal. The Presley camp called it a smear job. Newspapers dragged Red's name through the mud. 2 weeks later, Elvis died. And suddenly, Red West became the man who broke Elvis's heart. But here's what most people missed. The book wasn't meant to shame Elvis. It was a cry for help. A final, desperate attempt to get through to someone they couldn't reach anymore. Red said they'd tried everything else. Talking. Interventions. Pleading with those around him. Nothing worked. So they told the truth. Loud enough for the world to hear, hoping Elvis might hear it too. He never got the chance. And Red never got to say goodbye. They never spoke again after the firing. That silence, those unfinished words, haunted him for the rest of his life. But even as the backlash burned, Red stood by what he said. He carried the scars, lost friendships, damaged his reputation. But he never stopped caring. He said, "The world loved Elvis. But we knew him. And knowing him, really knowing him, meant seeing the cracks behind the crown. The fear behind the fame. The boy from Memphis who just wanted to sing for his mama and make people smile. Red saw that boy till the very end. He remembered the motorcycle rides, the gospel songs, the late-night talks about God, about life, about whether Elvis was still good enough. That's what shocked Red the most. That even after selling out arenas, Elvis would walk off stage and ask, "Was I okay?" He didn't know. He genuinely didn't know. That vulnerability? That's what made Elvis human. And that's what Red wanted the world to understand. In the years that followed, the narrative began to change. People reread the book, listened to Red's interviews. They started to see it not as betrayal, but as grief. A flawed, painful, necessary act of love. Red never claimed to be perfect. He admitted his mistakes, his silences, his regrets. But he also made it clear, he never stopped loving Elvis. Not for a moment. Even when they stopped talking. Even when the world turned on him. Even when it was too late. He said, "If I could have saved him, I would have done anything. I would have done anything." And maybe that's the takeaway here. Sometimes the people who tell you the truth, the hard, ugly, painful truth, aren't trying to hurt you. They're trying to hold on to you before it's too late. Red West wasn't trying to destroy the king of rock and roll. He was trying to save the kid from Memphis, the friend, the brother, the boy with the guitar and the dream. And in the end, maybe that's the real tragedy. That even with all the love in the world, sometimes it's not enough to bring someone back. But speaking up, that matters. Because silence doesn't protect legacies. Truth does. If this story moved you, if it made you see Elvis not just as a legend but as a man, do me a favor. Hit that like button. Leave a comment. Share this with someone who only knows the icon, and let them meet the human being. And if you're ready for more untold stories like this one, don't go anywhere. Click on the next video. There's so much more we need to talk about.